All right, moving on from the UN. Milo Yiannopoulos is back in the news lately, and it turns out that Milo wishes to have a free speech rally. Well, I shouldn't say wishes. The free speech rally was supposed to happen today, but there was a lot of controversy surrounding it. See, all right, going back. So this event was set up by Milo Yiannopoulos and also by a Berkeley student group called the Berkeley Patriots, and they were trying to have an official Berkeley campus rally in Sproul Plaza. Milo had talked that he had many key figures set up to speak from the rights. A couple that he had made reference to were Ann Coulter, Steve Bannon. Those were just to name a few more. But there was a few other invitations, such as Michael Malice, Douglas Murray, and James Damore, the author of the Google Memo. But this ended up hitting a wall early on because, well, one problem that was ended up happening was that people who were supposed to be scheduled to come were saying that they had not received invitations, and this actually is extended to Douglas Murray, Michael Malice, and James Damore. They all said that they had no idea that they were supposed to speak at this Berkeley free speech announcement. Others also include Dave Horowitz, Breitbart contributor Ariana Rollins. But yeah, they said they had no idea about this. In fact, Ann Coulter herself said, quote, "I never planned to speak." And she said that to the Los Angeles Times. "My speaker bureau never booked me to speak at Berkeley. No contract for me to speak existed," end quote. And then one other member is Lucian Wintrich he's from Gateway Pundit, a right wing site. And he said he was a scheduled speaker, but he ended up mentioning to the Guardian that he knew at least a week ago that the event wouldn't proceed. He ended up saying, quote, "The entire thing is a complete disaster, and unfortunately it makes us all look very unprofessional. It was completely mismanaged, and they could have told people earlier this week it wasn't happening rather than waiting until the last moment. Obviously, if the organizers of an event don't actually organize an event, then the event won't happen," end quote. So his quote there at the end, he says, "Wait, they should have canceled rather than waiting until the last minute." This is because just yesterday, yeah, so it looked to be just yesterday, the 23rd, the day before the rally was supposed to start, Milo Yiannopoulos ended up having a press conference in which he said that the event has been canceled. And he said that because it has been canceled, he is going to go and have a unofficial free speech rally. And that even if it's not condoned by the Berkeley campus, and unfortunately for him, that the Berkeley Patriots had to pull their support from Milo. So without student support, he couldn't have an official event. So he said he was going, come hell or high water, he was going to have his event on Berkeley. So now accusations are getting hurled both ways on this. Some have accused Milo of not planning of ever having the event and was hoping to more come out as sort of a conservative martyr in this, in that the campus would shut it down and once again he could look like the victim. Milo, on the other hand, is accusing that they were trying to be railroaded right off the start. That the student group was given lots of paperwork to fill out and they were trying to be drowned in bureaucracy. So that way, if the event didn't take place, the school could then claim that Milo and his associates didn't fill out the appropriate paperwork, and that way resolve them of any accusations of trying to shut the free speech week down. That being said, the university has shot back, saying that the organizers missed several key deadlines, such as securing the venue and also confirming the guest list. So this almost, for me, seems to be the case. I don't know for a fact, but just from what I've seen, it seems to be that case, because a lot of speakers are saying they didn't even know that they were invited to this. So upon hearing the cancellation, Antifa did pretty much a victory march in the streets, But it seemed to me it was a little too early for them to be making a victory march, because the unofficial rally did take place today in Berkeley. It took place at noon their time. I'm on the Eastern timeline, so I believe they're 3 hours behind me. So the counter protesters ended up setting up a No Hate in the Bay march against white supremacy as their counter protest in order to rally people behind their cause. Antifa was present in this, but more specifically, it is the By Any Means Necessary and Refuse Fascism groups. And they were there with their masks. But the cops seemed to be out in force this time, and they were avoiding any real conflict from happening. So Tim Pool was on the scene during this rally today. Tim Pool is an independent journalist, someone I actually really respect and I turn to if I want my news. But anyway, so he was doing a live stream today of the rally, and from going through the videos, you can see that it seemed to be not as violent as people were expecting. A lot of people were expecting to turn out sort of like how it has in maybe Charlottesville or even in Berkeley back in February in the 3 battles at Berkeley. But more or less, it started off with just the counter protesters, doing all their chants, and they took to the megaphones in order to preach their message about no Trump, no hating. There were chants going all around of no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. That's pretty much their classic chant in any of these. That seems to be all they can ever do. There were heated debates all around, but it seemed like the cops were stepping in before anything got too out of hand. There was a little bit of pushing and shoving, but I didn't even think I saw a punch getting thrown. I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe I even saw a punch get thrown, so that was kind of good. A few people were arrested. At least I should say I didn't see any punch getting thrown that was on this live cast by Tim Pool. Maybe somewhere else they did. And the numbers were actually much smaller this year than they were expecting. This is probably due to the cancellation. But even so, there was still, probably there was 100 people allowed on Sproul Plaza, and there was probably at least a few hundred other people that had gathered down outside of the plaza just doing their own protest there. Some of them were counter protests, some of them were pro-Trump people, but all in all, despite a few hundred people being present, there didn't seem to be much in the way of violence. One thing I think that is important for this is Tim Pool actually ended up doing an interview with Mike Cernovich. Now, Mike Cernovich is well known as a contributor to InfoWars, and he's a friend of Milo Yiannopoulos'. So he helped him set up this free speech rally, this free speech week. So Tim Pool caught him the day before the rally on I believe it was the 23rd. Yeah, the 23rd of September. And so when doing an interview, they were talking about everything that went down with Berkeley so far. And he said that so in terms of this accusations that Milo never wanted this to go through, Mike Cernovich claimed that Milo had gotten in touch with him months ago about this, and he actually had to move some family shit around in order to make everything work and to come down, so he doesn't believe for a minute that Milo was hoping that this didn't happen. However, he was very upfront in saying that they, essentially Milo and the rest of them, the worst thing that could have happened for them was if Berkeley cooperated with them, saying that the stonewalling and everything that happened is what's really given them their meat for their rally, that if things went off without a hitch, then they wouldn't get the attention they need. Essentially what he said is their perfect scenario would be Berkeley stonewalling their free speech week, but it continuing on for the full 4 days, and for Antifa and their groups to show up but not hurt anybody, so that way they can make themselves look like idiots without actually causing any violence. So he was pretty upfront about this. Pretty much Milo, Mike Cernovich, and them, it was a very provocative move. They chose Berkeley intentionally for the sake of how provocative it would be. Milo eventually shows up to the rally, and he gets he gets surrounded by, the media and everybody off the bat. They start making their screams. The counter protesters start doing their screams at him. But the event didn't seem to last long today. It seemed that things were only lasted for a few minutes at best. They said Milo came out, he gave his speech a little bit, took a few selfies, but then was pretty quickly escorted off. So this whole 4-day free speech week didn't seem to turn out to be much. I mean, we'll have to check out over the next few days to be sure. They said that it's supposed to run till the 27th. So we'll see if anything else actually happens from this rally. But it seems like it's more or less dead. It seems like even day one, he shows up, they're barely there, and they leave. A few people show up, a few hundred people show up, scream at each other, and it doesn't seem to progress more than there. It was kind of interesting because, along with Tim Pool, both the YouTubers Sargon of Akkad and Lauren Southern were there, and you can go check out. Lauren Southern ended up doing an interview with Sargon of Akkad. So did Tim Pool the day before. He ended up doing an interview. I'll link both of those in the descriptions. And you can also check out, in the descriptions, I'll have Trudeau's speech, I'll have Trump's speech, and I'll also have the North Koreans' response to Trump's speech. But I think that's all I got for you today. I want to thank you for joining me on the podcast today. I'm Adrian Lloyd. This is just my stupid opinion. I'll see you soon. You profit from